Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining this webinar. My name is Yogesh, and today we are going to do a session on thematic investing. We have done a lot of sessions in last 2 years now. After COVID, all we have done is a lot of webinars, and through which we have connected through a lot of investors, prospective investors who have been asking a lot of questions about which are the areas to invest in long term, short term trading, speculation. And through these webinars, we try to bring you what's going on in the financial markets, um, which are the areas you can look into. But that being said, every time we do a session, we ensure that whatever the information is provided to you, it is based on the current market scenario. So today we are going to discuss a lot of sectors, a lot of themes, and especially a lot of them are very futuristic. Uh, Please understand the risks behind it also, because these are the areas which are at a growing phase, and the purpose of this webinar is to give you more and more information about which can be these growth avenues, how you can identify them, and how you can invest into these things, right? But please understand that every investment has a certain amount of risk. So before you invest into any of these sectors, you should definitely consult your risk managers, your investment consultants, and only then look for these areas, right? Before I begin, there's a small poll which I wanted to conduct. I see a lot of you have already joined this session now, so I can publish it now. Have you invested in water related companies related to water distribution, water purification, um, anything? This will include even the companies which are making water bottles, apparently. Have you invested in these companies? Look at this poll and try to answer. So, I know we cannot do a conversation live, but definitely we can try to answer your questions. So you can use your chat options to make it more and more interactive. If you have any questions, even in the middle of the session, you can always ask. I'll try to answer as much as I can. And if there is something which I cannot answer, then definitely I'll get back to you once I have the proper answer to it. So please do ask your questions, and let's make it more and more interactive. So right now the poll is: Have you invested in water companies? Try to answer it, and you'll be amazed to see. Right now, a lot of you have answered this poll, and I see 100% people have answered no. Just ask yourself this question: that which is the one commodity without which you cannot live, and is that something which is scarce, right? This is what I try to tell you, that when we are talking about thematic investing, we're going to be talking about some mega trends which in the longer period of time will become the trends. So today we are going to talk all about that. I see a lot of you have answered this poll. I'm going to end this now, and you'll be amazed to see that the results 100% no, right? So this is why this session is just to throw some light on what kind of themes exist. John Chambers, executive chairman of Cisco Systems, he once said at least 40% of all businesses will die in the next 10 years if they don't figure out how to change their entire company to accommodate new technologies. Now, this is just a part of thematic investing. Let me clarify this. Thematic investing does not just mean upgrading your technology, but yes, there are a lot of technological parts which are involved into it. So this should not be seen as a tech sector completely. I'll show you more and more areas where you can invest into. But then that being said, technology is one thing which, if it becomes obsolete, then it changes a lot of things. Think about, okay, um, use your chat options to tell me, do you use a BlackBerry? Just write yes or no on your chat option. Do you use a BlackBerry now? And please have a notepad with you. I have mine. I have this habit of writing it. Do you use a BlackBerry? Use your chat options. Yes or no? Okay, I've started getting answers now. Okay, okay, okay. Absolutely. A lot of people. No, I still don't see anyone who said yes. There's a reason behind it. BlackBerry is not there anymore, right? The technology has changed. Everybody's using WhatsApp. So even when BlackBerry at its time was a technology, but now it's replaced by a bigger, better technology. That is something which we have to understand that uh, day on day, month on month, year on year, technology changes and a lot of themes they come across. And this is what is called the era of disruption, right? Because what's going on right now, especially today's world, uh, you, me, and all other people, we are taking a lot of action every day to build a future in which we want to live, and that is the kind of future we want our kids, the other generation, to come in. From composting to driving electric vehicles, we are already making a mark with everyday choices. Now thematic investing is all about, while we are making these choices, is there an opportunity to align our investments with the choices we are making? And that's where thematic investing comes in, right? If you support sustainable energy, if you support innovation, healthcare, or electric vehicles, this is something which you can also invest into. Now, why would you invest into a thematic fund? This is just to put your portfolio, personalize your portfolio, and include investments that align with your values and goals also, and sometimes with passion as well. So we'll explore all those areas and we'll explore a lot of themes. Now, this is one of another things, a very interesting data, guys. This was in 2008. Top 10 global companies by capitalization. So, market capitalization, when we talk about market capitalization of a company, which means like Apple is a $3 trillion company, Amazon is a $1 trillion company, Microsoft is a $1 trillion company. But back in 2008, the highest market cap was ExxonMobil, PetroChina, General Electric, Gazprom, ICBC, right? Royal Dutch Shell. This was what it was in 2008. 10 years down the line, in 2018, we saw a complete change in the top five, especially. In fact, top 10, if you see, Apple has the highest market cap in 10 years. Alphabet, Microsoft, Amazon, Tencent, right? Alibaba, Facebook. So, what happened was a lot of tech involved. In the 10 years, there was such a digital disruption. And I keep using this word disruption. What is disruptive technology? What disruption actually is? Because this is going to build a momentum towards thematic when we come to. So that's why I have to tell you what disruption is actually about. And this is an era of disruption. Please keep writing a lot of questions. I'm getting a lot of questions right now. So we'll try to answer all those questions as well. So if you have any, please continue to write. Now, when we talk about disruption, a lot of us invest in innovative stocks. Just take an example, Tesla, for example. In 2020, Tesla was $90. By early 2021, Tesla was $900, right? The share price skyrocketed. But that being said, uh, when we talk about the common law of investing, the most rewarding opportunities are also the riskiest. Now, that is the core of what I'm going to tell you, because this is the sector which we are talking about, whether it is disruptive technology and other themes as well. Investing in this is also the riskiest because these are emerging areas. But that being said, again, you have to take it with a pinch of salt where you're investing into this sector, which is very futuristic. So you are taking those risks to get the rewards. Now, if we see like something like Tesla, for example, lot of risk, right? Because the stock also fell 40% before it went up. Now, when I say disruptive technology means a kind of radical change to an existing industry. Like, for example, think about in the 19th century, if we have understood, think about telephones, right? When telephones came, it was a disruption in the communications industry. Telegrams are not there anymore, right? Electricity was a disruption. Um, cars were a disruption, right? So basically, what happened was all these technologies were new. That time, it could have been so riskier to invest in automobiles or telephones or industry. But soon it started making its place. People started accepting those. The very cost became less, right? And it became mass produced, and everybody started investing into it. So this is basically what disruption is. And we have seen that every new emerging technology that kind of transforms the major industry has a very good wealth building opportunity also. So I told you about smartphones, right? Think about smartphones. Think about 3G network, 4G network, and now people are talking about 5G networks. So innovation is the key to the real growth, and that's why there are a lot of such themes which exist. And I'm going to talk about themes which are related to, again, a lot of innovative platforms, and something related to artificial intelligence, genomic revolution, robotics, clean power, blockchain. We are also going to talk about EV space, for example. So this all will come into a lot of sectors, and we'll slightly talk about what kind of stocks are also available, right? And then I'll take you to the live platform where you can see the themes and how you can invest into it. Now, starting with artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence, this is, it's not just Siri or Alexa or Cortana, right? This is just a part. If we talk about artificial intelligence now, it has this power to transform all the sectors in the economy. Back in the past, you must have thought about some sectors which cannot be improved at all, because it was so improved, so much improved, that you never thought the technology would make any difference to it. But you talk about financial services, talk about healthcare. But with AI, with artificial intelligence now, and it is growing, they are even penetrating these sectors also. So think about, until now, humans have always programmed a software, right? And that software has performed a lot of functions. But now, with something called as deep learning, which is a branch of artificial intelligence, a software creates a software, and that software executes the program. So which means that humans are not needed anymore to create a software is there to create a software, right? That being said, there's a lot of argument around whether AI is good for humanity or not. There will be a lot of jobs, but then there are companies which are trying to collaborate where technology should be seen more as a complement rather than a replacement, right? And this, something like deep learning, it is expected to add around $30 trillion to the stocks market, to the equity market, in the next 15, 20 years. This is something which is, again, numbers. Now, we have to understand how large this opportunity could be, because internet especially has added $13 trillion to equity markets, and this is in the span of 20 years, right? We think about companies like Amazon, think about companies like Netflix, think about companies like Zoom, for example. In last few years, these companies have shown phenomenal growth, right? So this is something which, now within artificial intelligence, we see cloud computing, we see live streaming, we see a lot of mobile connected devices, internet of things. Basically those companies which are, how many of you, okay, let me do another poll so you can participate in this. uh, how many of you can live without internet? Yes, which means you can. No. And I want to display the results as well. Come on, guys, let's participate in this. How many of you can actually live without internet? If you can, write yes. If you cannot, write no. And when I say live without internet, that doesn't mean that if there's no internet, you're going to kill yourself. But how easy is going to be your life with or without internet? That's what I mean. Absolutely, you can live without everything, but what I mean to say is that how important internet is. If you're okay if there's no internet. So far the polling is 85% people say no, 14% people say yes. Continue to poll whatever you feel. As I said, there's no right or wrong answer in this. If you can, very good. If you can sustain without internet, The right question should be, can you sustain without internet or not? So if you feel you can, yes. If you feel you can't, no. Okay, a lot of polls here, so I'm gonna end this. 25% people say we can sustain without internet, we can live without internet. 75% no. So the point we are trying to make is, sorry, somebody asked, is this live? Yeah, this is live, exactly. Point I'm trying to make is there are a lot of companies which, because internet is so massively used, there's a lot of internet traffic, right? That's why 3G, 4G, 5G keeps coming to give you a better speed. There are companies which are working on reducing the internet traffic, right? There are such companies which are working on reducing. Imagine in the next 10 years with 5G coming in, internet traffic is going to be huge. So think about those companies which are working now to reduce internet traffic and what will be their market value during that time. So this is what comes into artificial intelligence. Then we talk about genomic revolution. Now, when we talk about genomic revolution, this is again a really interesting idea. I'm not sure how many of you have heard about CRISPR technology, but this is a next wave of innovation in the healthcare treatment, because what it involves is using the genetic information to understand how your body works on a molecular level. Now, in 2003, when the first human DNA sequencing was completed, that time the idea was to use that information and identify if there is any kind of disease which the patient is going through, right? If somebody would know that we have chances of developing a disease or an ailment like cancer or anything, if you know this prior, you can be diagnosed, you can start a particular therapy or be precisely pointed to that particular therapy. That time in 2003, the cost of doing this was around $3 billion to do a full DNA sequencing of the human body. And it would take 10 years at least to do a whole computation. Now, you will be so surprised. The same sequencing, it cost around $600, takes a couple of hours to do it, right? Now, since with the price falling, DNA sequencing, which was a kind of a privilege, right? Now it is something which is adopted massively, right? So there is a lot of technological and scientific developments which happens in gene editing, DNA sequencing, and there are companies to do all that. Okay, and this can restructure your healthcare and body and everything. So again, as I said, if there was a way that early cancer can be detected by reading DNA signals, this is going to be massively talked about, right? And there's a lot of progress which is seen in DNA sequencing. Medical sciences could have a cure for genetic disorders you don't even know. So there are companies which are involved into DNA sequencing, and uh, this is what the CRISPR technology is all about. Okay, so there are those companies which are into immunotherapy, providing CRISPR technology, and again, as I said, these companies are listed in stock markets. Because this is again an emerging area, investing into these kind of funds or companies can be riskier. But a lot of you have asked in the previous sessions before that if I want to talk about a longer term investment, a futuristic investment, what it could be. So these are some areas what I'm discussing with you. If you have, as I said, any questions, continue to write and I'll be able to answer those questions. Then comes robotics. In robotics, we are talking about using reusable rockets, use of drones, use of 3D printing. And again, robotics is also something we always think about robotics. We have a Terminator kind of image in our mind, right? We'll always laugh on it. Like you would not believe that robots can do something. But when COVID happened, we understood one thing after coronavirus. This vision that robots were a joke in our minds, but this vision kind of changed because we expected robots probably in 2050 or after that. But with COVID coming in, a lot of companies they developed themselves in a way where the robots kind of disrupted the market sooner than expected. Software, sensors. Now, again, as I am saying, that there are companies which are working to collaborate robot and human efforts. So that doesn't mean the robot is going to completely replace humans, but just work together in an environment and make things much more easier. Try to understand this. The population we are living in, there is a lot of people who are aging, and aging population has been increasing. And thanks to the increasing demand for health monitoring, also, we have seen robots have kind of proved, and the technology has kind of proved. So, this is again, there are ways you can invest into those companies or funds, and try to understand. Think about autonomous driving, right? Auto drives. Think about what will happen by 2025 or 2030. A lot of people talked about smart cars. A lot of people talked about driverless cars. Tesla came up with this kind of technology. So this only gets bigger and better, right? So that is again one thing which we should always try to understand. There's a questionnaire. Would you share top three companies in each segment? Yes. So that is also there. I have found out some segments, and we can talk about few stocks as well once we finish this segment. And then comes clean power, blockchain technology. Clean power is also something which we talk about. Renewable energy comes into it. Battery vehicles, EV space comes into it, and we'll throw some more light on this. Blockchain technology, financial technology. A lot of you must have heard about blockchain. Uh, some of you, there are doubts that uh, investing in cryptos is a good idea because blockchain exists. But the point is, blockchain is just a technology on which cryptos and other things work, right? But that doesn't make crypto a promising investment just because blockchain exists. You would not invest into a stock like Cisco just because the internet exists, right? Cisco would have its earning per share, revenue, everything. Only then you will invest into it. So when we think about blockchain, see, blockchain is a major disruption. And when I say disruption, that means it's innovative. It's a game changer at this moment. Because first and very important use of blockchain, the aim at which blockchain was created was to enhance the smart payment system, right? If any of you have businesses and you have to do cross payment transfers across borders, you know that how expensive it is and how much time it takes. Blockchain technology was built to create a quick global money transfer, which is even secure, which is very cost effective, less transfer charges, less conversion, and faster payment, right? This is something which is going to boost your business. So, like this, it is just one of the functions. And like this, blockchain can contribute into shipping, it can contribute into transportation, modernize government agencies, institutions, virtual reality. And this has started happening because of coronavirus. There was a lot of COVID crisis induced rapid adoption. When I say COVID induced, that means because of COVID, a lot of companies they adopted cloud computing, right? Which again are expected to bring a lot of blockchain technology in the years ahead. So yeah, that is something which we need to understand. Century Financial has shared top picks 2022. There's no clean power, blockchain, or AI into it. Is your view different from these topics? So what happens is, so this is one question. We shared a portfolio top picks of 2022, and there were no such of these sectors. The reason is that so this is one question which has been asked. The reason is, as I said, when we talk about an investment area, we pick out the stocks looking at the magnitude of risk also. Before I started the session, I told you that something like Tesla, which went from 90 to $900, before it went to 900, it went down 40% before it reached high. So investment in these sectors, because these are emerging areas, probably in the next few years, this will prove the metal. But as of now, the risk and rewards are pretty high. So this is not something which is on the top of our head. We'll just go with a portfolio. That's why I'm doing a specific session on thematic, and I keep repeating that whatever we are going to discuss about, please talk to your investment consultants and risk managers that how risky it is, and every investor has a different risk. And this, what I'm talking about, is high risk stocks. So that is why something this is not something which we would print right there. Questions: what are your views on investing in IT companies, considering we may enter into metaverse? virtual reality age, and also considering the high risk involved in the metaverse related to privacy. So again, metaverse is one talk subject, virtual reality is one talk subject. I did one session on cryptos, and that was last week, and we talked about not just cryptos or blockchain, we talked about something called Web 3.0. Okay, Web 3.0 is the new form of internet, and that internet is it's blockchain induced, which means, so the first version of internet was 1.0, which was the Web 1.0 we talk about, where you have an AOL account and AOL will show you the information which is in AOL. Then we transformed to Web 2.0, where we started connecting on social media, right? Today, I'm sure everybody here knows that whatever you search on Google or on Facebook or Instagram, your data is shared, right? But can anyone tell me on the chat, who's having control on this kind of data? What you search, what you shop, who's controlling this data? Just name a few companies if you feel so. Use your chat options, guys. If you're searching something on Instagram or Facebook or in Google, for example, that information, that data, who's holding this data? Which are these companies which are holding this data? Do you have any names in your mind? Just think about it. Use your chat options to write it. Okay. All right. Perfect. Perfect. So a lot of you have started answering really good. Okay. Okay. So mostly a lot of you answered uh, Microsoft, social media channels, Amazon, Google, right? But these are the only companies. So so much of data, and data is the new gold, right? Alphabet, for example, web browsers. So a lot of these companies, like these huge tech giants, these are the ones who are holding all this information, right? With Web 3.0, based on a blockchain system, this information will be in the control of the common users also, right? That is the reason of Web 3.0. So when we talk about investing in IT companies, now what you should be focusing on is find out those IT companies which are important from a Web 3.0. Like what kind of companies will get benefited if Web 3.0 gets executed, right? And there are a lot of such stocks. Like if you look at companies like for example Nvidia, right? Think about Nvidia, think about IBM, think about Advanced Micro Devices. And if you think about Nvidia, is a very diverse technology powerhouse. It is involved into deep learning center, right? And the entire discussion about Web3 will never be complete unless you put Nvidia into it. It is best known for gaming related graphics. So when you talk about metaverse related stocks, Nvidia could be one of them as well, along with Web 3.0. uh, if you look about crypto miners, they are using a lot of hardware, and Nvidia is supposed to create those chips which increases the efficiency of that hardware. You talk about advanced micro devices, right? If you are mentioning Nvidia, you should mention AMD also. Again, one of the most important stocks when we talk about Web 3.0. IBM is there for that matter. So yeah, there are companies which will be benefited. So when you're looking at IT based companies, should be more focused towards who will be benefited by Web 3.0. Can you explain more about Web 3.0? Does it protect individuals with data privacy? It does. So Web 3.0 will continue the answer by once I end the session. Also, please continue with me before I end the session, and I'll engage into this discussion again. Let me continue with. So we talked about AI. We talked about, yeah. Now, this is where we need to talk about mega trends as well. So now from technology, we come to a point that all these technology, it starts giving rise to some mega trends, and thematic investments are based on these mega trends. Now, let's talk about something which is related to, so I talked about few themes, and we gave a very small description of clean energy. Now, when we talk about clean energy, see, most of the world's current energy as of now, it is produced from fossil fuels, and these fossil fuels, they emit greenhouse gas emissions, and this is what global warming is all about, right? This is where clean energy can help, because if we see right now, 39% clean energy is projected to power 39% of US utility capacity by 2030, and this will be up around 12 to 13% in 2020. Now, that just means that when we talk about renewables are expected to overtake coal, first of all, to become the largest source of electricity generation worldwide. This is going to really help reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So world is not, like, they're not ignorant of it. Clean energy is projected to power 39% of US utility capacity, and that is going to be happening expected by 2030. And this will be a 13% jump from 2020, right? So we are going to look at some clean energy stocks as well. Look at another one, cloud computing, for example. Now, I'm sure a lot of you would know about cloud computing, also at least heard about cloud computing. Uh, Cloud computing, after COVID happened, a lot of companies, they started using cloud computing platforms as well. It has been very essential. If you see the whole digital transformation which has happened in last 1 or 2 years, cloud computing has been like an epitome of it. It has revolutionized the entire way we work, and now the teams, you can access that kind of data instantly wherever they are, right? So because there are a lot of businesses which have migrated workload to the cloud, and a lot of revenue growth is expected to. So see it this way, Amazon Web Services. So while we are talking about cloud computing, let's have a look at one of the important facts. Worldwide cloud spending is expected to approach $400 billion in 2022. And since we are talking about it, there are companies like Amazon has Amazon Web Services, which is its cloud computing platform, responsible for more than 15% of revenue generation of Amazon. Alphabet through Google Cloud. So Google has Google Cloud Services. Microsoft has Azure. And these are one of three biggest names in the cloud computing industry. And of course, they have these platforms. Cloud computing is not the primary source of the revenue for these companies, but again, as I said, that these are few bigger names. They cannot be considered as pure players in the cloud computing because they have started their services, right? But if you look at companies like Pure Storage, you can keep writing, guys. You can keep using your notepad, write these names, and later on, you can always talk to your consultants about these companies. Talk about Pure Storage. Now, Pure Storage will provide cloud-based data storage solutions and globally, right? Their Q3 results came November and it was good. If you look about the analyst forecast, also expected to be better, expected good Q4 earnings, good guidance, and this is one of the reasons that Pure Storage is it is kind of on the line where you can look into this as a cloud computing. Then there are companies like Arista Network. There are companies like Unity Software, Viva Systems. Splunk is one of the provider of cloud-based data analytics. And again, there are a lot of companies, a lot of analysts which suggest investing in Splunk. But as I said, guys, again, these are emerging areas. So be very careful where you look into, talk to your risk experts before you get into all those. Zoom is one of those. I mean, if you say Zoom also provides cloud-based peer-to-peer platform. You can use it for audio video communication. In COVID-19, one of the stocks which went up was Zoom. Do not forget about Okta. That also provides a cloud-based identity management, and cybersecurity is one of the important things. And Okta is one of the important companies in cybersecurity sector, right? So these kind of companies, again, you can definitely look into. So yeah, I'm getting. Is my audio properly audible? A few of you have pointed out my audio is frozen. If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up, yes or a okay, so I can continue. Don't want you to miss out on this information. If you can hear me properly, just give me a yes or a okay if you can hear me properly. Okay, perfect. Okay, great. Just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. It's at the end of the day technology. So yeah, guys, this is something what cloud computing. These are few companies which you can talk to your investment consultants as well. One very important point over here, cloud computing includes PaaS, SaaS, and SaaS services. So SaaS, for example, software as a service. Should we consider the company which provides all three, or which is the best-selling service? Asking the considering myself, a total layperson IT. See, of course, if you're in IT sector, you would know a lot more than I do. From an investments point of view, software as a service is a really important thing. Okay, because you talk about I think Slack technologies is one of the important stocks in software as a service. We have one basket itself which provides all these companies which are related to software as a service. I'll share it with you on the live platform, and you'll be able to see that. Another theme, electric vehicles. So we threw some light on EV space while we were discussing in the previous slide. But what I wanted to tell you about was that when we talk about EV space, um, electric vehicles, everybody think about Tesla when electric vehicles comes in. But I'm going to tell you about a few more stocks which you can look into. Now, EV has gained a lot of traction because, first of all, sustainable transportation option, right? Low carbon footprint, and people are concerned about it, so they continue to, look forward for options which are much more sustainable, uh, and this, as compared to the cars which are using traditional fossil fuel. If you see, this is something very interesting here. Global EV sales to grow 10 times more by 2030. Now, this is something which is, again, by 2030, it is expected. Uh, Demand for both. You talk about government policy changes, consumer driven. So, even government, we are talking about a complete blue government here. In US, the Senate, the president, parliament, everything is Democrat right now, and Democrats are big favors of um, renewables and EV space and these kind of sectors. They have talked about Joe Biden has a lot of stimulus, a lot of bills which are pending. Some of the stimulus has been provided to the clean energy sector, renewable sector, EV space. So right now, this is the time where not only the government policy is concerned about the fossils, but a lot of consumers are also demanding for the future transportation market. So this is something which is going really well for the EV space. And while we are talking about uh, not audible. Okay, I think some of you can hear me properly. Some of you may not. So let's just try. There will be a recording of this session which will go on YouTube, so you can always check this recording. If it is breaking, try to remove your headphones and put it on the speaker on your laptop on your phone. That will be easier. So there are some EV stocks also. Let's talk about those as well, right? Because EV is something which we always think about. The first thing comes into our mind is Tesla. Once I was talking at the Talk FM, we talked about companies other than Tesla in terms of EV, and that time Lucid Group was at $20. Now it is. I'll share the chart with you on the live platform. Now it is around 40, 41. uh, there is a lot to like about Lucid at this moment. Uh, their batteries are way superior as compared to Tesla's. Features of the car, designs, technology, it's very attractive, right? If you see reviews also of the customers, were very positive. Customer response is really good. Now, this is something. Lucid Motors is a EV maker, electric vehicle maker, and it does not only offers uh, good cars, but it is also delivering on time, something which was difficult for Tesla in the initial stages, right? Tesla never delivered on time until 2020 happened, etc. But at this moment, not only Lucid Motors have good cars, but they're progressing very well on delivery plans. Uh, they want to increase the production, deliver 50,000 cars in 2023. They have announced the plans to set up a factory in Saudi Arabia also. Now, this is again their plan to enter the Middle East and European markets in 2022. So this year is going to be really important for Lucid Motors. Look at the stock, consider your risk, study your risk, and only then look at the stock from an investment point of view. The stock name is Lucid Group or Lucid Motors, and they will launch a lot of different versions also, SUVs also by 2023. And if you're looking for an EV space other than Tesla, Lucid Motors is something which you can definitely do some research on. There is Ford as well. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about Ford Motors, and the stock in 2021 has gone up by 136%. And even during the New Year's, if you see from January till date, it is up by 18%, right? So good returns in January also. But then there are a lot of reasons. Uh, Ford stock mainly went up because there was a lot of focus from Ford on electric vehicle space. And Ford is expected to increase a lot of electric vehicle production. By 2023, Ford is expected to increase the production capacity of EV space around 600,000 cars. Now, their aim is to get at least 40% of their total sales by electric cars. And that will be the target for 2030, of course. So over this period of time, they will continue to focus more on EV. Now, this is really, really important, right? If a company is expecting to bring 40% of its sales by electric, which means they're going to do a lot of improvement in the EV space. So it's again a growing stock. So their performance is really strong. Think about Chinese companies like BYD, for example, right? China is one of the important. I know that at this moment, Chinese stocks are like a hot potato. But yeah, you really need to be very bold to hold Chinese stocks in your portfolio as of now. But again, China is one of those countries which have been moving really faster in an EV space, right? It's kind of a leader. Now, if you see over the globe in 2021, if around 6 million cars are sold globally from EV, 3 million were sold in China, right? So this is something which is really to think about. So if you're looking at a company like BYD, Build Your Dreams, it's one of those companies. So build your dreams, BYD. It is one. Second, we talked about Lucid Motors, and third, we talked about Ford. So look at these companies also apart from being inclined towards Tesla, right? I'm repeating, guys, because there is no other way. I'm sure a lot of people are joining right now also. So I just want to repeat myself. What I'm telling you right now, please do your research as well. I'm just giving you very good highlights that you can look into. Talk to your investment consultants, talk to your risk experts before you enter, because these areas are emerging, futuristic, but carry a lot of risk as well, right? I'll also tell you that how you can invest into a fund rather than picking an individual company, because when we look at these themes, it's really good to look into a kind of fund, because if one of these companies fails, then your investment is in a lot of risk, right? But if you invest into these funds, then it is easier. I'm going to show you how you can look into these funds as well. So one of the areas, digital health. We should definitely talk about digital health. Digital health comprises telemedicine. And telemedicine, the word telemedicine, it is basically to improve the quality and access to the healthcare. Wherever you are, and this happened in COVID, I'm sure a lot of you people, anybody who went through COVID, you cannot go to the hospital directly. So there is a lot of growth in the telemedicine area. Okay. And if we talk about the digital health market, it is expected to rise in a COVID just brought a lot of sectors together a lot earlier than it was expected, right? Now this industry, it will continue to digitize the process. So digitalization of the health, telemedicine, these are few more areas which have started coming in, and there are few stocks. There is Teladoc, one of the companies which is specializes in telemedicine. So that is also something which you can look into. 160%, the digital connected healthcare market is expected to grow 160% from 2020 to 2025. There's a question: how do we consider investing in automotive industry which manufactures semiconductors? So again, very important point, because semiconductors is also one of the themes right now. There is a lot of shortage from semiconductor stocks, semiconductors, and this is one of the important reasons. So if you see companies like TSMC or Micron Technology, Nvidia being one of the companies, so we should understand that semiconductor companies, because the stock prices have gone down, there are a lot of such companies which have started coming in. And I think if we look from an investment point of view, there are some stock pickers which will actually win if we look at the semiconductor sectors also. And there were a lot of companies. So first, look from an individual company point of view. Like we talked about TSMC, we talked about NVIDIA, Micron Technology. But I would always suggest, when we are looking into these kind of sectors, always look a fund, a ETF, a semiconductors fund, or energy ETF, something like that. There are a lot of semiconductor funds which kind of provide you, because what pandemic brought was, all of a sudden there was a scarcity of silicon bits which used to make broadband providers, right? So there was the internet routers also suffered a lot of delays. uh, playstations were like, there were playstations were not available. Assembly lines were shut down. There were a lot of chip shortages also. If you go to buy an iPhone, you wouldn't get an iPhone 11 or 12 that easily. They were just making iPhone 13s due to chip shortages. So like this, I mean, you would never see something like that. But that being said, when the stocks came down and these funds came down, a lot of people started buying these funds, which I'm going to share it with you right now. You can look into from a fund perspective rather than looking at individual companies. Okay. So this is where we come to a point where we say that how we invest into these areas. First, as I said, you can pick individual stocks. Then you can look into ETFs, which is a kind of a fund, exchange traded fund, a mutual fund which can be traded on exchange. So, exchange traded fund, which I'll show you live on the platform right now. And then there is something called share basket, which exactly like you. Let me take this example of the tissue box if I can hold it. Oh no. Okay, great. So this, let's say this is a basket, and in this, I call this basket as a semiconductor basket. And in this basket, I put all these companies which are related to semiconductors, manufacturing chips, all these companies together. And the price of this particular basket goes up and down depending on the performance of the all these companies together. So if one companies fall completely, doesn't mean that the entire fund value is going to go down. So I would always feel that it is much better to invest into a fund when it comes to thematic sectors: green energy, AI, robotics, software as a service, blockchain, space exploration, cybersecurity. There are so many themes. So if you look at, so these are few areas, right? These are the funds which are created, and again, on our platform, on different platforms, you will find it, because there are different mega trends which we are talking about. And please understand this. So when I talk about EV space, it doesn't only mean that electric vehicles. So let's try to understand, when we talk about mega trends, think about, let's say, okay, let's talk about, for example, if I'm talking looking at the uh, health healthcare sector, right? We talked about healthcare sector. Now in healthcare, digital health is one thing, and then DNA sequencing is another. So two sectors for digital health, right? At the other end, if I talk about transformative technology, then in transformative, something which is going to transform it: cybersecurity, robotics, disruption, future mobility, digital economy, fintech, right? All of these comes in. And you can further break it down. So when I talk about electric vehicle space or batteries, uh, you can always invest into electric vehicles. But tell me what happens. If anybody can tell me this, when you use an electric vehicle and when the life of the battery is done, when you have to replace the battery, what do you think happens with the battery which is already existing? Once it is done, it is of no use. What is done with that battery? Can anybody guess? Use your chat options to write. When you use an electric vehicle and you have used its battery and it's done, it cannot be used again. What happens with that battery? Think about it. Okay, a lot of you have started giving answers. Okay, okay. This is, I must say, I've done a lot of sessions, And this is one of the very, very informed and interactive crowd I'm getting on a webinar. Normally, people do not take webinars, um, contribute to webinars like that, but amazing. A lot of you said recycled, right? So basically, recycled, when they are recycled, there are companies which recycle these batteries, right? So if you're thinking that no, electric vehicle is too risky, you can also look at those companies which are involved into recycling of these batteries, right? Maybe they are recycling it, maybe they are reusing it, partly recycling it, as a lot of you put. And then imagine those companies which are making electric vehicle charging stations, right? There are those companies which are creating an infrastructure, they're creating EV stations, right? There must be those companies. You can invest into those also. Think about electric vehicle as a big sector. So there are companies which are making electric vehicle cars. Then there are companies which are making electric vehicle batteries also, which are made of lithium. So you can invest into lithium mining companies also, right? Then imagine those companies which are recycling these batteries, which is another area of investment. Then those companies which are providing packaging to put those batteries in, another area. And then another area in EV, which the companies which are responsible for creating an infrastructure for electric vehicle charging stations. So no, in one sector, there are 5, 6 different areas, industries which you can invest into, not just Tesla. This is the whole point of doing this session. So you can get to aware about that when we talk about EV, it's just not Tesla. There are so many other sectors which you can look into, right? Similarly, if you're looking at, for example, vehicle automation. Now, if there is a driverless technology, or if there is a autonomous technology for vehicles, you would also invest into sensors, the company which is creating automatic sensors, right? You will also invest into companies which are providing technology for autonomous driving, not just the cars which have autonomous driving, right? So like this, there are a lot of sectors you can always look into, and there are a lot of those companies which you can always look into. Now there will always, so I will show you the live platform as well, and live platform I'll show you how you can look into these share baskets also. And this is one of the most important things. Why? Because when we're looking at share baskets, so this is how you can invest into. Some of you asked about software as a service. A lot of you asked about companies, which how we can invest. Should we look into individual companies? Should we look into companies which are like only individual companies or related to funds? Now, also, I think there is one more question which I should say. How about ammonium powered newer technology? Will ammonia replace EV? Again, a very, very good question. See, from an investment point of view, at this moment, yes, definitely. I mean, we can always talk about 10 years down the line. The very cash cost of producing ammonia, it is, as of now, it is higher, the cost of the conventional producers. I mean, if the renewable power cost does decline, if by in the next 5, 10 years, then probably the cost of ammonia will be competitive, right? Now, again, as I said, I'm talking about a very futuristic thing. It When it happens, it happens. At this moment, still EV. It's still we are talking about lithium-based batteries. But yeah, you definitely have a point about ammonia. It depends a lot on what happens to the cost of renewables, and yeah, that is something, because it is a technology which is basically a fuel which is made of sun, air, and water, right? This is there. I mean, if we talk about whether it is going to be the fuel of future or not, right? This is something which is a very popular question. A lot of people would talk about, because as it is basically an agricultural chemical. Is it going to be a convenient means to transport hydrogen? There was there If you see the population right now, um, it changes, right? See, let's see it in this way. Um, it is expected to play an important role, right? But to have this transition, there is going to be a lot of long-term energy mix. So, yeah, I mean, would I completely discard the possibility? Definitely no. We should definitely be thinking and looking for the investments area. From a cost point of view, this is something which we have to consider. So yeah, definitely the fuel has a lot of potential. Question to be considered: know more about investments. We spoke about mutual funds as it includes portfolio of different companies. There's some funds wherein the portfolio consists of only 8-10 companies, and hence it is considered as high risk. Stating this, having experience investing in Indian markets, but can you please help putting some more light with regards to international mutual funds? So, uh, so there are two things over here. One is fund. We are looking from a global markets point of view. So you definitely have a point in it that if there's a fund which has exposure to 8-10 companies, it is riskier. And a lot of these share basket themes, they are exposed to, like, some of them have 10 companies, some of them have 20-30 companies, because the areas which we are talking about, there are not many players in the market right now. All we try to do is, even the players which are available, we create a basket for you and give it to you that, okay, invest into the basket at least. But the question which you're asking, that if there are any more international funds, there are. So this is where I share the live platform with you, okay, and I'll show you how you can use ETFs for your normal investments and for the others as well. Let me just show you this. I'm just sharing my screen with you. Please show me a thumbs up, yes or okay, if you can see this screen right now, if it is clear to you. Otherwise, I'll just zoom into this if you can not read the font. I'm assuming it will be slightly low in the font, but let me try to zoom in. If you can see properly, if you can read it, send me a yes or okay, or just tell me to zoom it. I can zoom it as well. Okay, perfect. You can see this. So right now I have actually opened a ETF window. Let me just slightly zoom it more. Some of you, if you cannot see it, I'll just zoom this a little more here. Okay, so name should be visible properly. So right now I'm showing you the funds. Okay. Now let's say if I write uh, semiconductors, for example. So semiconductors. Okay. Now if you see something like market vector semiconductor ETF. Now this particular company, if so vector semiconductors ETF. If you see iShares PHLX semiconductor ETF, iShares vector SPDR, these are the fund management companies which are creating these funds, right? And we are showing you these trackers which are tracking those funds. So that's why it is called an ETF. Now, when you are looking at this ETF, for example, if you see this is down today by 2.5%, I'm going to show you the chart for this. This one fund price is $519. Okay. And currently, if you see now let's see the growth overall. Okay. Let's see in the last, so let's see the pandemic fall, right? If you see here, this was the pandemic fall right here. From 2020 it went down and was $175. This is really important to note, guys. $175, it came down in pandemic. But I should be rational over here. So the pandemic fall was basically a V shape. So I cannot say that if you bought at 175 you'd be so rich by now. I mean, that is just a false thing to show you at this moment. Let's consider after recovered from the pandemic, it was around $270, June 2020. After June 2020, it continues to rise and goes from 297 all the way to 504, went all the way to 560, and now it is trading around 519. Now, this is also the time during somewhere when we started seeing that the shortage of semiconductors also started, right? And we saw the ETF even going higher and further. And then from 550, it has down to, over a period of years. Now you can invest into this particular fund or pick individual companies. I would always be more inclined towards a fund more, because this fund will give you exposure to a lot of companies, right? Okay, there's one question. I've joined late. There's one question: why all profitable companies are not good to buy in the market? Like company A is very reputable and profitable in the market, but if you try to ask some advisors, they will suggest other companies like B. See, it depends. I mean, it's not, I mean, I shouldn't say it's not like that, but it depends a lot on the current market scenario. So let's just understand also what the current market scenario is like. Technology specifically, if you talk about Teslas and Amazons, they are great companies to invest into. At this moment, when central bank is talking about a rate hike 3 times and inflation is high, uh, people will talk about. Uh, Somebody said can't see the questions. No, the questions are directed to me directly on the admin to make sure that others do not get interrupted. So I'm just reading the questions and answering. Uh, when we talk about companies like Amazon's and Microsoft, these are good companies. But since Federal Reserve is talking about interest rates hike, in a normal rate hike environment, we have seen historically that investors are more inclined towards companies which give good dividends. Okay. And tech stocks, they barely give dividends because whatever money they make, whatever revenue they receive, they put a lot of money into research and development to keep the technology upgraded. So you will see very few technology stocks which will give you dividend, but the movement in tech stocks is too high, up, down, both ways, very risky. On the other side, there are companies which are probably not as volatile, but they give you a fixed dividend, right? So it really depends on the market scenario. It's not necessary if Microsoft is doing really well, the consultant will always tell you to invest in Microsoft because in an environment where there are rate hikes, investors favors more to the value stocks, which gives good dividends rather than the technology stocks because technology stocks are expected to come down. So that is the only reason. And sometimes reputation is more made by the market. Like Tesla is the biggest living example. Why I keep saying Tesla's name? Because it's a living example. A stock from $900 to $2,000, exact $90 to $2,000. It's the living example, right? Tesla did not show earnings before 2020, not that much, but the stock still went up. So rather than looking at the reputation, I would still see the market scenario and numbers, and that's what is really important. Okay. Now, also, so this is one of the fund and another ETF. So somebody asked the question. So from an international point of view, now what you can do with the funds also is, so this is what was for the semiconductors specifically. Let's say I want to invest into a fund which is giving good dividends. Dividend. So I search for dividend. Now, something which is called Dividend Aristocrat. Now look at this particular ETF. Now this is created by ProShares S&P 500, and this is called a Dividend Aristocrat ETF. Now a Dividend Aristocrat ETF means this particular fund focuses on only those companies which is which have a history of providing which has a history of increasing their dividends in last 20-25 years, right? So if you see the range in 2021 beginning, it was around $78. It saw a high of 96, 99, and now it is at 96. The volatility is probably not that much. It's less volatile. Obviously, do not consider the pandemic fall. Everything went up. But before pandemic, it used to be 75, and highest it has gone is 96. Kind of gives you stability to your portfolio and focuses on those companies which have a history of increasing their dividends. Now, those companies which have continued to give high dividends are the companies which we call as value companies, or companies which are barely, a lot of those value companies are not tech. Tech will move a lot, value companies not move a lot. Talk about Coca-Cola or AT&T or McDonald's kind of companies. So there is a fund which is focusing only on those companies. So yes, there are ways that you can invest into funds, international funds, which are not only giving you exposure on 10 companies. There are funds which are giving you exposure on 25, 30, 40 companies also. Talk to your consultant and he will definitely tell you about a lot of these funds which are involved into giving you good dividends. And at the same time, you can look into different areas as well. Hello, Yogesh, need to drop from the webinar due to no problem. We are almost ending this, and you can get a copy of this webinar on YouTube, right? And if you want a one-on-one session to understand how this platform works, we can definitely look at a one-on-one session also together, right? Very quickly before you leave, you can look into ARC Innovation. So when I write ARC is a company which is talked a lot about these days. So it created a lot of thematic funds, related to autonomous technology and robotics, fintech innovation, genomic revolution, next generation internet, right? So these kind of funds are available on these platforms, and you can always look into these funds. But as I said, uh, please consider the risk before you think about anything, any investments. Can you list out the funds which provide dividends? Yes, there are a lot of such funds. I just wrote Dividend Aristocrat, and one ETF came out. I can definitely look into a lot other funds as well, and we can have a one-on-one session where we can talk about these other funds which which focuses on the companies which are providing good dividends, right? So that is also something which we can work out with. But as I said, again, please talk to your risk experts as well, to talk to your investment consultants, have one-on-one sessions to understand the risk behind it, because at the end of the day, these are markets and risk will always be there, right? So before I end this session, a big word of thanks from Century Financial, my team, and on behalf of actually my family, I would like to thank a lot of people who are into the healthcare industry: nurses, midwives, first responders, doctors. If you are one of them, or if you have relatives, friends, spouses who are in the healthcare industry, risking out their lives every day, a big word of thanks from my side, from my family side, from my friends, from my team. What you're doing is incredibly commendable. And a pandemic is not an easy time for us. A lot of us have lost a lot of our loved ones, and it's not been easy. So what you guys are doing is commendable. Once again, a big vote of thanks to all of you. And we do these webinars. So if you really liked it, you can always go to Google reviews and write about these webinars so we can continue to do this. If we start with investing with Century Financial, do we get dedicated financial consultant? Yeah, but we cannot. We can help you manage your funds. That is true. We cannot execute trades on your behalf. That is a no-no. But yeah, definitely we can give you a platform training. We can give you a consultant who can help you out with it. So that we can do, right? So if there are any other, I think there are no more questions here. And can we get this demo account? You can just talk to your relationship manager who provided you this link, and they'll be able to give you a demo account as well. So once again, a big word of thanks. I wish you a great health and wealth, of course, here. Do not stop investing. Continue to invest, but be very, very careful what you invest into. Talk to us, talk to our experts, book your one-on-one sessions, and we'll be more than happy to provide you a training of this platform and to talk more about this. And these sessions are free of cost, whether you're a client or you want to be a client. It doesn't matter for us. These are the sessions which are informative sessions. So please review us on Google if you really like these sessions. My name is Yogesh. I'll see you next week with a different topic, with a different theme, and hope to see all these names once again in that session also. Till then, have a great night. Thank you so much.